Hi everyone, this is Joyce from Purple Palette. I am doing our bench class demo today. As you can see, my bench is flipped upside down. If yours is not flipped this way, please do so at this time. When you came and picked up your benches, you guys all should have received a little goodie bag with all your supplies in it. It should have rubber gloves, paintbrush, stain, and your paint, and some tweezers, and a tablecloth, before I forget. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to stain. If you're not staining, don't worry, we'll get to the painting portion in just a second. So everybody should have a pair of socks. Here's mine. They're clean, they're just mine are my kids' old socks. And what you're gonna do is give your stain a little shake, just in case it's settled. Anything settled. I put my hands right into the sock because I feel like I can get in nice and close that way. And then you're just going to go with the grain, so you're going to go back and forth. If you go this way, you'll see a lot of lines. And a lot of the reason that we start with the bottom first, because that way, if you've never stained anything before, you can learn from a mistake, because this is the bottom, so nobody should ever see that. And then we're just going to go all the way down with the stain. We're not doing the sides right now, so don't worry about those. We don't do those until we flip it up. I just want to get this whole side covered. Whoops. I'm tripping over things in my house. Because of course I'm home too, you know. And then we just keep going all the way down. And you guys are going to do both sides. I'm only going to do one side for the demo, just to save time. And so after we get that part done, we get the stain on, the other sock is to do a little bit of wiping off the excess stain. So I just take the other sock and I just wipe it lightly. I'm using a light color, our light stain color today. It's called Summer Oak. And it's okay if you get stain on your wood pieces, because we're going to cover that up with paint. So then after we're done with that, then we're going to let all of this dry. But now while it's drying, after we've completely done the whole entire top, we can go ahead and we'll start from the top and go down with our primer for the legs. So you're just going to take your brush, dip it in your primer, give your primer a good little shake too, just so nothing settles, and we're just going to paint the whole entire bench. Let me move my big old can here. Get you a little bit better picture. And then we're just going to paint the legs, the whole entire thing, everything that we're putting paint on. So if you're putting paint on your top of the bench too, which I know a few of you did decide to do that, you're also going to prime the whole entire bench. So, and we're just using our paintbrush. Get that all nice and done. And then let me go around to the other side, get this one done. You can, if you choose to, and if your stain is 100% completely dry, you can use either masking tape or painter's tape to tape off like your bench edges so that you don't get paint on the stain part. I don't usually worry about it too much when it's the bottom. Nobody should be looking at the bottom of my piece, is what I'm saying. And if they are, then, well, I'm not perfect, so this isn't going to be perfect either. And I like things to have a little bit of imperfection. So then once you're done with that, you're going to let this all dry. And you can speed up the drying process a little bit. Sorry, my dog's going a little crazy. We don't know why. She just likes to bark randomly for no reason. So after this is completely dry, you can use a blow dryer to speed up the process, or just let it sit and come back, pause the video, and then come back when your piece is dry. Okay, so after we have done all the primer, the next step is going to be, we're going to wash our brush. And it's okay if it's still a little damp. I just took a paper towel and got a lot of the excess water off of it. Because with Dixie Belle paint, with Dixie Belle paint, you want a damp brush. So I always have like a little squirt bottle. I couldn't send anybody home with all my squirt bottles because I don't have any. So the next thing is I'm going to give my paint a little shake. And then I'm just going to open it. And I'm going to use my cap first because that's just how I do it. So all you're going to do is you're going to dip your brush into your paint. And then I'm going to start on the legs. And I get down as close as I can. I gave everybody a little tiny brush so that they can get down to those little spots a lot easier. Or if you have painter's tape at home and your stain or your paint on your top is completely dry, you can run some painter's tape too if you'd like. So then we're just going to paint the whole entire bench, which I'm not going to do all of it on camera, just some of it. And usually I'll take 2 coats. Now here's a tip for you. I don't paint my feet, like the bottoms of them, because what happens is if you move it around, like I have hardwood floors at my house, so if I move it around, it'll leave like the paint color on the floor, and I don't like that, so I just leave them just bare. I'm just gonna, and the first coat's gonna be kind of ugly. It's not gonna cover necessarily great. Some colors will, usually darker colors, you'll probably get away with just doing 1 coat. As long as your primer was completely dry when you started. Blues are kind of hard. They usually need 2 coats no matter what. Blues, yellows, oranges, a lot of times reds, but blacks usually cover really good, and the browns usually cover really good. Once you are done staining and it is dry, and you can tell if it's dry, if it feels cool to the touch, it is still wet. You want it to feel warm to the touch, and then it is dry, because these are giant stickers, are stencils, so you cannot put the sticker on wet. So then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your cute little white scraper thing, which I forgot to bring one to my house, so I'm going to use a paint stick. You're going to flip it over to the back, and you're just going to start scraping it. And you're going to go over it probably a good 5-6 times, maybe 10. You know, what we're doing here is we're getting the white, which is our stencil, to stick to this clear part, which is our transfer tape. So once you're done doing that, what you're going to do is you're going to start at a corner, and you're kind of going to just fold up at one end, lay it as flat as you can, and start very slowly pulling while you're holding the clear, otherwise it'll all come out. And if you've scraped enough, nothing should come up, but if it does, that's okay. Just fold it back down and scrape that area either with your fingers really hard or with your little white spatula that I sent home with you guys. Oh, as you can see right here, mine's coming up, so I'm just going to lay it back down, and I'm going to press really hard with my fingers, and then it laid down for me. As you can tell, I love my dogs. I have 3 of them. So we are doing a dog paw for this bench. There. So then this piece of paper, the paper and the glue, just glue on one side, paper on the other, that's trash. You don't need it ever again. And then now what I'm going to do, I have decided that I want the side that's facing me to be my front. So I am going to place my stencil on my top of my bench. I'm going to kind of position it I didn't bring any rulers with me, but you most certainly, the white edges are 100%, they were cut by a machine, so they are perfectly straight. I'm just gonna kind of eyeball mine. And as long as I don't press down, you can pick this up and move it and reposition it until you get it to the spot that you want. As soon as you press down on it, that's where it stays. So if it's crooked, it's crooked. There's no taking this back off. So I like where it is right now. So I am going to first take my hands and just kind of flatten it. And then you're gonna take your little blue scraper, or your little white scraper, which I forgot. So we're gonna use this. And you want to go over everything probably 5-6 times. And I know that there are some cracks, so it might not stick down in those cracks, but I have a cute little trick to show you for that. And now this time you want all the white to stay on the bench. So then the same thing, I'm going to take, and sometimes you have to get it started a little bit. And I'm going to hold the white as I pull, and as you can see, mine is already coming up, so I know I didn't scrape it long enough or hard enough. So I'm just going to go over with my fingers. I usually have a better time with my fingers than I do with the tools, just because I tend to push really hard. And sometimes it rips on me, so when I'm trying to do it, I try not to push hard. And sometimes you might just have to hold them down for a second. It's stencil, so it can be temperamental at times. And again, I'm holding it as flat as I can to the board so I don't rip the stencil. Oops. See, this one doesn't want to stay, so I'm just going to hold it with my thumb and take it off. And this is the most tedious part, I think. It takes the longest to get the stencil just to go down right. And we're still going. Whoops. Mine has a lot of little pieces to it, so it's probably going to take a little bit longer than most of yours. So we're going to get this all off. Oh, I think it's going to work. Yay! Oops. You can't move too much, Bradley. My son Bradley's my cameraman. He's moving a little bit. So I'm just telling them, hey, if you're moving, they're going to get seasick. There. And then once we're done with that, our transfer tape can just go into the garbage too. So then I'm going to take my fingers and I'm going to just lightly go over all the stencil, make sure it's all pushed down everywhere, because if it's not, you're going to end up with bleeding, and we don't want any of that. And I'd say probably go over it like 3-4 times. Now, everybody should have had in their kit, oops, little makeup sponges. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give my paint a little shake. I'm going to open it, and I'm just going to use the lid. I'm using Bunker Hill Built Blue, by the way, for this project. And then you're just going to take your makeup sponge, and you're going to dip it just lightly. You're going to have hardly any paint on it, not very much at all.